Find the 1000th derivative of f. Whenever you're finding the nth derivative of a function, it's helpful to find the first three derivatives, maybe even fourth and fifth if needed, and look for a pattern. So f prime. We've got to start with the product rule. First times derivative of the second. And notice the derivative of e to the negative x requires the chain rule, so we have to multiply by the derivative of negative x, which is negative 1. Then continuing on with the product rule, we have the second times derivative of the first. And now both terms have e to the negative x in common, so let's factor that out, leaving us with negative x plus 1. So here's f prime. Next, second derivative. Again, we're having to use the product rule. First times the derivative of the second plus the second times derivative of the first. And again, taking the derivative of e to the negative x requires the chain rule, so we'll multiply by negative 1. And let's simplify that. The first term, we get negative e to the negative x. And in the second term, let's distribute the negative 1 inside the parentheses, giving us x minus 1 times e to the negative x. And now we can factor out e to the negative x. And when we do that, we'll be left with negative 1 plus x minus 1, which is e to the negative x times negative 2 plus x. And that is the second derivative. And now the third derivative. We have product rule, e to the negative x times derivative of the second, it's just 1, plus the second times derivative of the first. Now we'll clean that up. That is e to the x, negative x. Distributing the negative 1 will give us 2 minus x e to the negative x. Factor out that e to the negative x. That will leave us with 1 plus 2 minus x, which is then e to the negative x times 3 minus x. And from here, you might start to see a pattern. We can clearly see that e to the negative x is popping out in the front of each derivative, but then the parentheses are changing. Here we have negative x plus 1 and negative 2 plus x. Notice the sign on x is changing from negative to positive and then back to negative, but the constants make sense. We have 1 for the first derivative, 2 for the second derivative, 3 for the third, and so on. So it looks like we can see a pattern forming. The 1000th derivative of x will be e to the negative x times, let's see, 1000 is even, and it looks like the even derivatives have the minus the constant. So we'll have x minus 1000.